Moin Moin and welcome to the Copter-College. In my last video I explained to you the general functions of the DJI Pilot-App for the DJI Phantom 3. Now we are coming to the special video and photo functions of the DJI Pilot-App. So there are some functions you may know or you should know. Mainly you find them here on the right side of the app. Give a little bit more space, so you find them on the right side of the app. First, let me show you the infos you will see in the display here. First of all, you have the ISO setting here. It has ISO 100. Then you have the shutter speed, 1/50th of a second. Then you have the correction of the exposure value, then the amount of pictures you can take, then the resolution for photo. This says JPEG and RAW. When you change to the video function, you will see that you have here 34 minutes left in 4K with 24 frames per second. Here is the color profile, and at the right point you can auto exposure lock. You can lock the auto exposure. As you have seen, you can change between the picture mode and the video mode. So it's not necessary to switch between both to take a picture or to make a video, because when you like now in the video mode and want to make a picture, just press the button here at the right backside of the remote control and you automatically change to the photo function. If you want to make a video and are in the photo function, no problem. Just press on the left backside the video button and then you start a video and you will see the app changes automatically to the video function. An important feature you have seen when you change between photo and video function, you see when we are in the video function we have the 16:9 format. When you go to the photo function we have the 4:3 format. You can change this also to 16:9, so there is no difference, but usually you're in the 4:3 format in the photo function. And so when you start a video, it's important to know the exact area you will take in the video, and therefore it's good to change in the video mode just before you take you start the movie. The most important functions you will find here at the small symbol on top of this right area, and when you press the button there you will see first of all we have the image format. That's what I said before. We have the option between RAW format, JPEG format and the combination of JPEG and RAW format. That's what I usually use. I use the combination of JPEG and RAW format because with a 12 megapixel camera like this, a camera like this, the files are so small that you can take a lot of pictures even if you have a small SD card. And so in my opinion the best thing is you use the JPEG and the RAW format. JPEG, you can show very fast the picture so the colors are correct, and it's just to have a short look on the picture or a first look of the picture. If you want to make it better and make the picture perfect, you need the RAW file, so you can go into Lightroom or other RAW converters and there you can make the picture perfect. You can change or optimize the color, you can optimize the exposure and the white balance and stuff like this, so you can optimize the picture perfect when you have the RAW file. And so my suggestion is take the JPEG and RAW combination. I said before we can change between the 4:3 and 16:9 format for photography, so just put the finger on it and you see we change between the two formats. If you know that you show the picture only on a TV set with 16:9, you can go to 16:9 because then afterwards you don't have to go to a program like Photoshop and cut the picture in the 16:9 format. You still have the 16:9 format, and so that's very easy to put them on the TV set. So Keep in mind, if you only look at on the TV set, 16:9 is okay, but if you are not sure and want to make pictures, posters or stuff like this, then I would say 4:3 is the best choice. Next point is the white balance. Usually you use the auto white balance. This gives you a good white balance. Usually I've worked with the Inspire a lot, and Inspire is the same camera, and so there the auto white balance works in most of the pictures perfect. But if you have a certain light situation and the auto white balance don't works perfect for you, you can go either to the presets cloudy, neon, sunny, and the light. What does it say? In color. Oh, I don't know what this means, but you know what I mean. Or you go to the custom mode, and in the custom mode you can make the setting individually by setting up the Kelvin value, and you should know which Kelvin value you have. So here at this location we have about Kelvin 5000, and you see the picture is fairly good. Even if I go to the auto white balance, the difference is a little bit there, but I think we are a little bit too high. We have like 4900, 4800. So let's change to the auto white balance. Yeah, it's a little bit less, so it's okay. But remember, when you are taking only photos, it doesn't matter, because in the photo you have the RAW format, and there you can change the white balance in the Lightroom or any other program which uses the RAW converter. But if you take videos, it's important to make a good white balance, because afterwards in the video it's very difficult to change the white balance. So there it's very important to make a good white balance. But as I said, usually the auto white balance works perfect. Only in certain light situations you should change to the individual custom setting. Next point is the video size. If you have the DJI Phantom 3 Advanced, you only have the full HD resolutions. If you have the professional, you also have the 4K options here, which starts with 4096 by 2160, and then you have the ultra high definition, the 4K definition of 3842 by 2160. So these are the two different 4K formats, and then we have the full HD formats here, 1920 by 1080 with 50 frames, 48 frames, 25 and 24 frames. If you look for the NTSC frame rates like 60, yes, we have them. Just push the button here, and then you will see we have here the option to change between the PAL system and the NTSC system. And when we change to the NTSC system, it takes a second because the camera has to reset. And then when we go then to the different video resolutions or resolutions, then you may see, or you will see that we have here, that we have here at this setting, we have the higher frame rates of, here we are, of 60 1080p with 60 frames per second. So yes, you can change between these. Just tip on more, go to the NTSC and change back to PAL or something you want. It depends on the country you live, which video system you will choose. So let's go back. Here we have the, what I said before, the video size. Then we have the color size. We have none or standard. Then we have soft, landscape and custom, and in the custom you can set up the sharpness, contrast and the saturation. If you go for a 4K video and have fine structures, it may a little bit like blinking, and so try to reduce the sharpness for -1 or -2, and hopefully, or in some cases, these blinking, flaring, I don't know how to say in English, but these fine structures may get a little bit better in the video, so try this. And you can also reduce the contrast by -1 for video, but that's only important if you make the video. If you take photos, just let it, especially when you do it in RAW. So in RAW doesn't matter which setting you have the RAW file and can do everything with the RAW file. So if you take video, go to the custom, and you may change it to -1 or -2. Let's go to the color. Here, one important point: if you take videos and want to go to the post-production and you're good in post-production and want to make color grading and stuff like this, please use the lock, because lock is a flat color profile, and there we have lots of options to change the colors and optimize the colors, so please use the lock. If you're not so good in color grading, or you don't want to make color grading, you can either go to none, so you have a normal color profile, or if you like it a little bit more colorful for nature, then you can go to the setting Vivid. But as I said before, you want to make color grading with programs like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, then you should go to lock and use the flat profile. That gives you the best choice for the color grading. If you don't like color grading, you can use the presets also, like black and white, the art filter, the film, beach, and dream. And I think there are two more, yes, classic and nostalgia. These are the presets you can use. So if you don't want to make color grading or use some profiles, then you can use these here as a preset. They work very fine and give the video gives a personal touch. So I go back to lock because we are making the post-production like Final Cut Pro, and then we want to have the lock color mode. Then we go to more. I showed you before, we have the quick review. When you want to see the picture you have taken, just go to like 2 seconds, and if you are going to 2 seconds, you will see when I take a picture now, you see the picture, and after 2 seconds the picture is gone, so you have the review of the picture. So that's the point here. Oops, that's the point. Quick review, I put it off because when I want to see what I've taken, I press the replay button or use this button here to look for the picture. But usually I don't want the replay, the automatic replay. So next point is the video format. Here you can change between MOV and MP4. Basically, it's the same MOV and MP4. So the codec is the same, the data rate is the same, only the container which takes the video material is different. The one is MOV and the other is MP4. Some programs work better with MOV, some with MP4. So check out your program and then you decide whether you take MOV or you take MP4. We usually use the MOV file because the programs we are using are working better with the MOV file. But as I said before, try it by yourself. It depends on the program you're using and on the device you're using. The data rate and the quality, that's exactly the same. There are no differences between MOV and MP4. Here, I showed you before, you can change between the two different TV modes, PAL and NTSC. Here you can reset the settings and you can format the SD card. So these are the basic settings. Now we come to the manual settings. First of all, if you want to make the exposure automatically, just put your finger on the scene you want to get the right exposure and then the camera adjusts herself. So if you put it on the black face of the left dog, you see it's get a little bit brighter. If you put it on the white face of the right dog, you see it gets a little bit darker, so the camera adjusts by herself. So if you're in the air and want to take a picture and one certain point of the picture has to be perfectly exposed, then just put the finger on it and the camera makes the exposure by herself for the right point. If you want to lock these exposure, just go to the auto exposure lock here on top, press it, and then you, and then you should lock it. I don't know why this don't work. I actually don't know why. We can just close the app and open the app once again. When I did the German movie, everything worked fine. So let's see what happened after the restart of the app. Here we are. I don't know why, but now you see I can lock and unlock the auto exposure value just by pressing the finger on it. So if I have the right exposure, and this is my right exposure, just go to the auto exposure lock, and here we are, and now we can lock the auto exposure. I don't know why this didn't work just a second before, but now I can show you. Here we are, auto exposure lock. If you want to work more precise, you can go to the manual mode. So go to the manual mode, and then here we find the small window, and when you're in the manual mode you can set the shutter speed. Just turn the dial here on the back side of the remote control, and when you press this dial, it's not only a dial, you also can press it. So when you press the dial, you change to the ISO setting, and then you can change the ISO setting. You see, here we are, and make the perfect exposure. You will see here if it's overexposed or underexposed. Now it's 0, so this is perfect. But when we change the shutter speed, you will see now we are underexposed, more underexposed, and now we are overexposed. You see you can change the shutter speed from 8 seconds, that's the longest, up to a 1/8,000th of a second, that's the shortest. If you go to the video function, you see when we have 4K with 24 frames per second, you will see that the longest shutter speed is a 25th of a second, because we have 25 frames per second, and so the shutter speed couldn't be longer than this, because then it would take 2 frames, and that's not possible, so it has to take 1 frame. So if we are here, we can change it to 50, 1080 50. Now we have 1080 50, and when we are now back to the shutter speed, you see we're on the 15th of a second. That's the longest shutter speed you can use. One function we only have on the Inspire, so a lot of people ask what is the difference between the Phantom 3 and the Inspire. One function we have also in the Inspire but not in the Phantom, we have a semi-automatic. So there's a switch on top of these small square here where you can change between automatic and semi-automatic, and in the semi-automatic you can set the exposure value or the shutter speed, and the ISO setting adjusts by herself to the perfect exposure. That's one thing we don't have here in the Phantom 3, we only have in the Inspire, so that's one difference which gives you a little bit more professional options. Okay, one very important thing, if you did made here the perfect exposure and you say okay, that's perfect for me, when you press now the button here, you see it's gone. So it's very important not to press the button here. If you set the manual exposure, just move your finger to the side and then the box will disappear. And if you want the box back again, here's a small lock, just press the lock and then you have the box back again. Not this one. The blue sign here should highlight it all the time, then you know you're in the manual mode and not in the automatic mode. If you're back in the manual mode, you can turn the dial here on the back side and make the exposure correction just by turning the dial. That's it, and that's the choice you have here when you are in the automatic mode. So these are the different options you have to set the exposure. just make exposure correction here and let the camera make it automatically, or go in the manual mode and make the settings here in this box. When you're taking a video, it's very important that you set the proper shutter speed. Usually we say when we go with 50 frames per second, then the shutter speed should be not shorter than double the time. So if you go with 50 frames per second, the shutter speed should be not shorter than 1/100th of a second. Why? Because then you get the staccato effect. So it's like da, 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 da. The picture is not smooth, and if you fly fast, you will see that the picture makes steps and it's not the real smooth picture. So important to keep in mind when you want to make movies or videos. Use the proper exposure or the exposure shutter speed. Double of the frame rate is the maximum you should use. So if you go to 24 frames per second in the 4K mode, you should use a shutter speed of 1/15th of a second and not shorter. The problem, if you have a lot of light and you're still on ISO 100, you have to use an ND filter. I don't know actually at this moment if we have ND filters for the Phantom 3. I know for the Inspire we have ND filters. I use them, and so you can adjust the shutter speed in a certain amount and can reduce the light which goes through the sensor so that you get long enough shutter speed for the different frame rates. So that's very important to know. And when you see a video and in this video the picture is like jumping or it's not smooth, then you check please the shutter speed, and in most of the cases you will see that the shutter speed is like 1/500th of a second or 1/1000th of a second, and so you have the problem of the staccato effect, and that's not good. And so you have to reduce the amount of light, and the only choice you can do is use an ND filter or an ND full plastic thing or something like this. So you have to reduce the amount of light which comes into the sensor. So the last point in these video settings is when you go up or put the slider here on the photo function and press this button, the release button, a little bit longer, you have different settings here. You have the single shot, you have the HDR shot, that's the high dynamic range shot, you have triple shot, 5 shot or 7 shot, just go back, or 7 shot. Then you have the setting of the auto exposure bracketing, triple shot or 5 shot, and you have last but not least the time shot. I don't know for what do you need this, because usually you park the copter up and press the button and make a selfie. But okay, if you want to lay off the remote control, this could help, and you can use the 10-second self timer. The auto exposure bracketing, there the camera makes 3 or 5 pictures, overexposed, normal exposed and underexposed, and out of these pictures you can make an HDR, high dynamic range picture with a special software, and there are more options if you use this than if you use the automatic high dynamic range picture. Okay, so these are the different settings here. The triple shot or 5 shot or 7 shot you can use if you want to make a panorama. Press the shutter, turn the copter. It's a little bit of training necessary to do this perfect, but yes, you can do this. And try the HDR shot. If it's good enough for you, you can use it. And that's it. So single shot back again. If the slider or the button here is on the camera symbol, and you press the button a little bit longer, nothing happens, you just start the video. So if you want to use the different options, you have to put the button here on the camera symbol and then press the shutter release a little bit longer to get these different settings here. Okay, so that's it for today. Now you know everything about the Pilot app, you know the basics of the Pilot app from the first tutorial, and now you learned everything about the settings for the photo and video of the Phantom 3. Oh yes, AD mode. I know, if you put my finger just over the GPS antenna, it goes to the AD mode back and forth. Okay, so that's it for today. Now we know everything. We know how to assemble the copter, how to make the firmware update, and how to use the DJI Pilot app. Next step is the first flight. Yes, we go outside and make the first flight, and in the next few days you will see this also here on my video channel. So stay tuned. If you like this video, give him a like and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I say, have a safe flight, bye and moin moin.